Hello, everybody, and welcome to our cycling chats presented by AFEX. This is episode number 4, and we are doing Cycling Canada's NextGen program. So today, what you will get a little bit of an insight into what we have for our general programs within the NextGen space, as well as some of the real specifics from each of the coaches. So I want to thank everybody for making the time to be here, both in the participants and also our other coaches. For those of you who I don't know, which I'm not sure there's many, but I'm Jenny Trew. I have been with Cycling Canada for the last 3 years as the track NextGen coach. And more recently, I've taken on the role of lead NextGen coach, so I'll be your moderator here today. Prior to working with Cycling Canada, I was a personal coach and the director sportif for cyclery racing, which has a very similar development ethos as our NextGen programs, which is to provide young riders with the tools and experiences to excel in the sport of cycling. So we do have quite a bit of experience on this call, again, in the participants as much as our coaches here. But I will take a moment to introduce our coaches. So the first coach that I will introduce is Laura Brown. For those of you who are fans of the sport, you might recognize her name, as she was a part of our Olympic team pursuit teams that in both 2012 and 2016, where 2 bronze medals were earned. So that's pretty exciting. Laura was also a professional road racer and won some pretty cool races over her years. She's been working with Cycling Canada since 2018. She was the lead coach for the Junior World Championships team in 2019, where we had many breakthrough performances, including a men's endurance bronze medal, which was really exciting. And bronze seems to be the theme of Laura's introduction, as she was also the coach on deck for the men's NextGen program at the 2020 Milton World Cup, where they had another breakthrough performance with a 4-minute flat team pursuit and a bronze medal. So I'm really lucky to work closely with Laura, and I hope this lets everybody else spend a little bit of time with her as well. Next up, I'm going to start at the top of the screen, is Guillaume Plourde. Guillaume is our Para East coach. He's been in that position since 2014, and prior to that was the coach at the National Cycling Center in Bromont from 2012 to 2014. His Para NextGen West partner is Phil Abbott. Phil is based out of Calgary, has been coaching full-time for 12 years now, so again, a ton of experience, and he was formerly the provincial team coach for Alberta and the head coach of the Cycling Center in Calgary. Next up, we have Jeff Ain. Jeff Ain has been in charge of the Mountain Bike NextGen program since 2013. He's attended over 15 world championships across disciplines, and so mountain bike, road, and the track. He has been coaching since 2008, where he started running the Devo youth program in Vancouver, BC, and since then took up roles with both the BC provincial team and the national team track. So Jeff has a very varied portfolio, like most of the coaches on this call. And last but not least is Adam Muys. Adam has been with Cycling Canada since 2009. He is our head BMX coach and is also in charge of the NextGen programs. So he's got a very good understanding of the whole pipeline, which is really exciting. And as part of this, we were really excited within our development programs to announce late last week that Richard Woles will be joining us as the road development coach. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it today. This webinar has been in the works for quite a while now, and yesterday was Richard's first day, so he did have some prior commitments. However, he's really excited to build out what he's doing, and if anyone has any specific questions for him or would like to chat, he's very open to speaking with everyone. So His email is richard.wolls@cyclingcanada.ca. I believe we're going to put that in the chat for you so you don't have to just write it out. We are really excited about having this edition of the road program, and we really believe that this new development program will make all of our programs stronger. So big welcome to Richard, and that, but I can't answer much more there. As for the rest of this presentation, 2 weeks ago, we announced our 47 NextGen athletes who have been selected to our 2021 programs. During our time today, I'll be giving you a brief overview of where our NextGen programs fit within the development pathway, what can generally be expected as the athlete experience within our programs, and then each of the coaches will provide further insight into their individual programs. After each of the programs are presented, I would like to we'll try to answer if there's 2 or 3 questions, but we do need to keep this rolling, so there will also be a question period at the end. So as we start here, our vision for our Cycling Canada NextGen programs is that we'd like to aim that the program aims to develop smarter, more prepared, resilient athletes who consistently perform on the world stage and stay engaged with the sport in the long term. When we bring athletes into the Cycling Canada pipeline, as you can see, this is a graphic that kind of represents the athlete life cycle. So we start with our advancement pool camps that hopefully some of you have had some experience with. They are for our newer athletes and our emerging provincial talent. They're often introductory short camps and open competitions, and really the focus there is developing the knowledge so you know how to do something, and as well as the skill development so you can demonstrate how to do something. That moves in from our advancement pool to our development pool, where things tighten up a little bit, into our and those are very in conjunction with our provincial partners. When we move into the prospect pool and the elite pool, those are very targeted national team programs. And in the prospect pool, that our primary program as a national team is the NextGen training program, which is the focus of today. Within the NextGen training program, we are focusing on high performance habit forming, so that's you do it regularly. It is for athletes to be a part of the prospect pool. They do not necessarily have to be within the NextGen training group, but that is where we put most of our efforts and our energy. The NextGen training group program has 4 primary components. The first is world-class coaching. The second is a daily training environment where athletes get to train with their peers, and that's often in a camp-based setting. We also have our Performance Research Science and Innovation team, often referred to as a PRSI, and that's where we get really great, again, world-class coaching in the different disciplines, as well as one of our newer initiatives, which is the educational curriculum. Our program size and the selection process really does vary by program. And if you have specific questions on that, that's pretty great. This is a good opportunity to speak to the coaches. Our educational curriculum, as previously mentioned, is designed to teach the knowledge, skills, and high performance behaviors of world-class athletes. For this year, our focus will be on nutrition and mental performance, and we are really looking forward to building that out. There is a cost to all of our NextGen programs, and that is just a reality of the situation. We are, however, aware that we do not want this to be a detriment for promising riders. So we're doing our best to keep that at a minimum. And then just as a general idea, as we're moving forward for an annual timeline, our athlete selections will be made in mid-September. By the end of September every year, we are looking to select those athletes and then announce the NextGen team in mid-October. This year, because this year was one of those years, or not one of those years, probably the only year, hopefully, that we're dealing with this. We were a little bit behind that timeline, and so as hopefully you saw, our teams were announced about 2 weeks ago. So we're really excited to present this to all of you. I'm going to hand it off to Jeff to start with our mountain bike program. And
hi everyone.
Take it away, Jeff.
Jenny, thanks for the great intro, and it's great to see a whole lot of familiar names on the list here. As Jenny mentioned, my name, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Jeff Ain. I'm the Mountain Bike NextGen coach. So I just want to give you a brief overview of really what I feel the NextGen mountain bike program is all about. And as we're going through, I think what we're going to try and do is, if anybody has questions, the best way is to put it into the chat, and I'll do my best as I'm talking over the next sort of 5 to 10 minutes to monitor the chat and answer questions as best I can as we move along. So the goal of the Mountain Bike NextGen program is to prepare athletes for hopefully seamless integration into the elite program. So mountain bike performance is super interesting. It's a really unique mix of physiology, physical, the mental, the tactical, and the technical. And putting that all together into a performance, it's pretty special. So my job, as generally for U23 athletes, so sort of from that 19 to 22 age range, is to prepare athletes to be able to move over and be successful as they move into the elite ranks. Briefly about selection, in a normal year, usually the World Championships are sort of the first hoop to jump through. So athletes who are named to the national team for the World Championships are the ones that sort of jump through that first hoop to be potentially selected into the program. There are always exceptions to that rule. Sometimes in the past we have had some exceptional juniors who we feel that it's a good setup for them to join the NextGen program early, and on the flip side we can have late entrance athletes coming into mountain biking as it's an endurance sport. So really finding those individual exceptions as required. And every year we do an application process, so any athlete can apply. This year I believe we had, I think it was 18 athletes apply to the program. So that's basically selection. And the program itself is time bounded, so we aim to keep it between 3 and 4 years, and then have athletes graduate out of the program, and again, as I said, hopefully up into the elite program. The main focus of the program is coaching, and that's where I feel we provide the most benefit to athletes. Personally, my current experience at the international level, I feel I can be very useful for athletes who are looking to make that transition from racing at a national level, potentially making worlds, and then looking to prepare themselves for the international level. We also have a great relationship with CSI Pacific to provide our IST. So we have in-house IST, we have mental performance, we have nutrition, we have strength and conditioning, and we have physiology. And so having that all in-house in Victoria makes it super effective. And again, with each individual athlete, we're always finding those individual solutions. So there may be a Quebec athlete who has a great relationship with a mental performance consultant in Quebec. Then we find those individual solutions for those athletes as they need them. The next piece of the program is training opportunities. So generally what we're doing is we are a camp-based program. So in a normal off-season, we would be meeting every 6 to 8 weeks for between 10 days and 3 weeks over the winter time to in different places to prepare as best we can. So normally we just actually finished our virtual testing camp last week all over Canada, so athletes didn't travel. But normally we would have that in Victoria to get baseline data to prepare for the next year. We do a road volume camp. Usually it's been in California. This year it won't be. We'll most likely be doing something virtual as well. And then in February, March, we're usually doing a race preparation camp, usually again in Victoria, to get back on the mountain bike, sharpen skills, sharpen speed to prepare for the race season. In terms of cost for the program, the coaching piece is paid for by Cycling Canada, so they pay my salary to be able to coach athletes and cover that cost. In terms of the IST, like as I mentioned before, we've got a great relationship with CSI Pacific to be able to provide funding to have those practitioners provide support. The costs related to the program or for the camps that we do. So each camp we have a specific amount of budget that comes from the National Mountain Bike Program, and then we top it up with costs that go directly to the athlete in the form of fees. The other piece of the NextGen program with my role, it's something that we're really going to be focused on for 2021, pandemic permitting, is really looking at that. I don't know, Jenny, if you can put up that slide again of the sort of pipeline, but it's looking at the advancement pool and development pool athletes. So trying to best prepare our targeted U17s and U19s through a series of advancement camps throughout the summer to best prepare them for. The focus is always going to be on potential selection and performance at the World Championships, and then also building those skills to be able to move into the U23 ranks, attempt your best to be successful there, and then eventually gain the skill to move up into the elite ranks. So those camps were really focused on trying to be in conjunction with the provinces as much as possible. Each province will put forward athletes, and then we'll be able to fill out the group of sort of 20 to 30 athletes as we move forward, and it'll be a very sort of the group will definitely be added to as we go through the year. But as I said, the main focus is giving cadet and junior athletes the tools to be able to perform internationally and prepare them for experience at potential selection for Worlds. And then as Jenny mentioned, just the last piece is the NextGen training group it's not the only way through the pipeline. So within the prospect pool, we are going to have athletes who have great coaching setups and are achieving great success and are progressing really well. They're in the prospect pool. It doesn't mean that they absolutely need to be in the NextGen pool to be able to move through the pipeline. And we've got great examples of athletes who have come through and are now having great success in the elite ranks who did not come through the NextGen program. And so we're aware of that, and my job is to do my best to work with those individual coaches and athletes in the prospect pool to help them where I can. Whenever we have openings in camps, that's the pool that I go to invite athletes to be able to take part if it fits within their training plan. That's pretty much it for me. I don't see any questions in the chat box, but if anybody has any, now would be a great time. Otherwise, maybe we can revisit it at the end of the session.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeff. I think that was a great rundown of our mountain bike programs. This is my favorite part about Adobe, is when you're just staring.
Perfect. Thank
you,
Jordy.
Perfect. Thank you, Jordy. I'm going to move on to the para program.
Thanks very much, Jenny. Hello, everyone. The Para NextGen program. Unlike the other programs, we've divided in two. Guillaume handles Eastern Canada, Ontario, Quebec, and the Eastern provinces. I myself handle Manitoba West. Our program is largely based out of two central locations. Guillaume's based in Bromont, Quebec, and I'm based here in Calgary, Alberta. As far as selection to our program, we do a large intake every fall, as we've just done. We also have athletes join the program throughout the year as they meet benchmarks to get into the program. I won't go into direct specifics regarding the selection. You can find selection documents on our webpage that outline the process and some of the standards and eligibility criteria that we use. Unlike the other programs, ours is not geared towards a specific age group. It's more based off of years in sports. So that would be only the real large difference over what Jeff's mentioned and Jenny's covered. As far as the program itself, as mentioned, with Guillaume being in Bromont and myself being in Calgary, we run DTEs within those areas as we can, largely camp-based. Athletes, in addition to that, receive a number of training camps throughout the year, in a normal year, obviously, this not being one. That would include warm weather camps during the winter, specific skills camps during the summer, sometimes in Canada, trips to Milton to use the indoor velodrome and Burnaby to cover skills. And this is open, obviously, to the NextGen group and then any development and advancement pool athletes as well. Athletes in the program, in addition to receiving camp-based and DTEs in Bromont and Calgary, also receive a yearly training plan provided by Guillaume and I, access to training peaks and a day-to-day program, monitoring through CSIC in Calgary and through INS in Quebec. We've built a very strong PSRI team that supports athletes in the NextGen program, covering everything from nutrition support, individual and group, mental performance, testing fairly frequently, physiology support that guide Guillaume and I in program delivery and making sure that we're getting the best out of our athletes. In addition to limited physio assessments and things as they come up throughout the year. And so I think it's a program that really supports the athletes training both remotely. Our program is largely decentralized throughout Canada. And we try to set things up where athletes are living. And that can be really anywhere in the program. Guillaume, is there anything you'd like to add?
Nope, I think it covers it pretty well.
If doesn't appear to be any questions, but it kind of just outlines the program. If there's any questions that come up, we can answer at the end of the session.
Excellent. Thank you, Phil and Guillaume. That was great.
Excellent. Thank you, Phil and Guillaume. That was great.
Pass it over to
I'm going to pass it over to Adam.
Program.
Hi. Our Bmx program, very similar to the previous two programs. We're decentralized, and then we have camp-based training camps throughout the year, both in Abbotsford at our Supercross track there and in Toronto at our Supercross track there. Mostly what we're able to provide for our programs is coaching, and we provide training plans for the athletes as well as monitoring and support. Our plans this year are we're going to actually start the Bmx Advancement Camp series throughout the country and try to run 5 camps across the country around our Canada Cup events. And part of that, we want to work with local coaches and help build them up to help be better coaches and prepare their athletes better for when they make the jump from the standard BMX tracks to the Supercross tracks. I think that's about it with the BMX program.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. I feel like we're ripping through this, which is pretty cool. So Laura and I are going to talk about the track programs now. I'm going to start with the track sprint. This is a fairly new initiative that we're going forward.
it's kind of one of those things that even though our elite program is probably the most centralized of all our programs here in Milton, our next gen ones will be, oh, things are moving around for me a little bit. Hold on, sorry. Our next gen program is camp based. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry. The hope is that is to have 4 camps again, because it's 2020. We're doing what we can. The first go around of camps actually starts next week, which is really exciting, and it's an excellent opportunity. We named 6 athletes to our next gen sprint squad. They will be joining Coach Franck and our Olympic bound athletes in the training environment for the next 2 weeks, including some race simulations, which is really exciting. So our next gen athletes are going to be spending their next 2 weeks learning about sprint tactics through the very real application of I'm really sorry, I should have shut my door. Very real application of running through the Olympic calendar. So really excited to see how that goes. And we will be building the camps out as we can. And in addition, looking to go to T-Town in the summer, hopefully, fingers crossed, borders open, all of that good fun stuff. So the real focus for our sprint program is to give them some opportunity to train with their peers. We've got an amazing history of excellence within our track sprint as a country. It's kind of amazing when you spend some time doing that. And so then it's just an opportunity to let the athletes work with each other and really push each other to new heights. Sorry, I think was that then? If you have a question, if you can just type it in the chat, I'm happy to take that as that's kind of the core of the track sprint program. I'll just, no questions? Okay, just testing the hands up. All good. You just wanted to pet my cat, didn't you? Sorry about that. All right. So as we move into the track endurance, really excited to see this continue to build out. We've had a lot of success within our track endurance next gen programs. With Ariane Bonhomme going as part of the elite program to the Tokyo Games, she's one of the first to come through, and then there's our entire men's team that is performing incredibly well and actually did a 350 in training last week for their team pursuit, which is really exciting. It's really great to see these athletes move forward and get ready for the Olympics and to create even more of a legacy within Canadian cycling. For our track endurance next gen program, our biggest goal is to create excellent bike racers. And so a big part of that has been trying to standardize what that first year of post-junior and intake into our national team programs really looks like. So the core of that will be based with 3 month-long stints in Milton. During that time in Milton, we'll do some baseline testing, as the other programs alluded to. We'll spend a bunch of time with our staff. We have an exceptional group of development staff in our strength and conditioning coach, Greg, our nutrition specialist in Kevin, our mental performance coach in Fiona, and our our development therapy lead in Ali. So we're very, very lucky to have an excellent team. And so we really want these athletes to learn the most from these people and to also really spend the time getting to know themselves, doing some education and getting the baseline data. Outside of that, we also have a strong road component where we will be moving the athletes to the Lower Mainland for the months of February and March. And I'm actually going to pass this over to Laura to explain it because she'll be the lead of everything on that side of the country. So I think it's better coming from her.
Thanks, Jenny. Hi, everyone, and thanks for being here today. As Jenny said, I work very closely with her on the track portfolio, and I'll talk a little bit about our plans February, March, maybe April, depending on the state of the world, as we plan to do some road racing in the US. So fingers crossed. So as Jenny mentioned, we'll do intake camp, testing, training in Milton, and then after a bit of a rest, the track endurance squad will be based out on the West Coast, which is really exciting, here in Vancouver, and that's where I live. And like she said, I'll be in charge of leading that and the execution of the daily training environment here. So the focus for these months will be mostly just training and endurance and skills. And it's really important that we do this block in order to set us up for the track season, as most of our riders also race road. So we want to set them up for success that way as well. And so we'll just do aerobic base, some training races, both track and road, hopefully, and ride the Burnaby track, and that'll be mostly technical work. And it's a warm weather block, if you will. Vancouver is not Tucson, but that's actually deliberate, and we want to stay in Canada for various reasons, but mostly just build resiliency in our athletes, our next gen athletes. And another, I think, important thing to mention is our communication that we've been in with our local clubs and coaches and teams, and it'll be a really great opportunity to collaborate during this time and share resources. And also, Jenny didn't mention perhaps the bit of porous, so opportunity for non-next gen riders to come and integrate and do a bit of talent ID and coach development, and certainly integrate and collaborate with the development road program as well, led by Richard Wools, and our other disciplines, endurance disciplines within Cycling Canada. So I'm really looking forward to leading that. I believe that's it. Maybe Jenny can fill in any gaps, but I just want to say I'm really excited and looking forward to this new next wave of next gen athletes and coaches.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Laura. I think as I've been in the role for about 3 years now, we've been slowly kind of adapting and getting to a place where we have a men's and women's team that are run in parallel, and that can really take the benefits from each other, and also really working on having a stabilized program, so that when people are coming in to our next gen programs on the track, they know exactly what to expect. And yeah, the collaboration part is huge for us. We have many riders that are on UCI teams going into 2021 that we're working hard to make sure that we are prioritizing their development as athletes, and so that we're looking at their other commitments and making sure that we're just giving everybody the best chance. I think that's the real truth, is we're all here, and we all want to see as much success as possible within Canadian cycling, and we don't always have the most resources, so we have to make sure that we're using everything that we've got the best that we can, and that we're collaborating and sharing resources across, which I think all the coaches touched on. So we are really excited. There's a lot of really positive things that are kind of coming up through 2021, and I know that everyone's had their ups and downs over the last year, but we're really excited to move forward into 2021 and see what we can do. So I think any discussion about our next gen programs in 2021 would be amiss if we didn't state that I think there are a lot of really cool things that happen with while the delays of the Olympics are not ideal. It does give all our athletes just an extra year to not only work on their own development, but be exposed to all our top-end athletes that are getting ready for the games. So another year of getting to see that and really understanding what it takes to get to that top level, which is pretty awesome. Kurt in the chat box has asked, can you outline how the next gen programs integrate with existing PSO programs, athlete movement, as well as coach integration and mentorship? Yeah, of course. Jordy, would you mind putting back up our flow diagram? There we go. Makes me feel like a wizard. I'm like, let's do that. So, all right. So our advancement and development pools are very collaborative. We could not do these without our PSO support and personal and club coaches. I know I've worked with a number of people that are on the number of the participants that are here on our advancement pools, and I can tell you straight out, we wouldn't have been able to do a lot of what we've been able to do without your help. So where we see is our advancement pools are created through each of the disciplines, maybe a little bit differently, but the fundamental concept is our entry point for most things will be our national championships. That's where we get to see everybody together. So that's the bulk of where things are coming from. After that, we want to be in communication with you guys. All of the individual coaches are working hard to keep those lines of communication open. If you feel that we need to include you on that, then please let us know. We're trying to include as many people as we can, because it's really important that you're a part of this. So I'll speak to the track ones because that's what I've spent the most time on, and they've been around the longest. But essentially, where we've got our advancement pool in the past is from nationals, and then also from coach recommendation. And I speak that I've been really impressed with all of our coach recommendations, and most of the athletes, when they get recommended, I'll invite them to one of the camps, and then they're integrating seamlessly. I have yet to have an athlete that doesn't absolutely fit in that group. So it just shows the level of expertise that we have in our partner coaches through the PSOs and the club coaches. From there, the development pool, that would be your groups going to things like Junior Worlds. On the para side, there's C1 events. They're not necessarily next-gen athletes, but they're well on their way to there. So there is a selection process to get into that development pool. So again, in the case of Junior Worlds, it's to qualify for the Junior World Championships. The knowledge acquisition and skill development is the focus for both of these groups. On the Olympic side, we're really focusing on your under 17, under 19 riders. And as I said, those pools are very much in collaboration with the PSOs, as makes sense, because that's very much their space. As we move into the prospect pool, that's where you're looking at your next-gen training program, the development national team competition. So on the track side, that's your Nations Cups for the most part. World Championships, U23 World Championships in some cases, those sorts of things in your prospect pool. And that becomes far more national team driven, but still within that space, there's a lot of room for coach mentorship. I mean, I think is really cool. We have 6 people on this panel, but even the 6 of us cannot cover all the awesome things that are happening in the development space in Canada. So there is definitely a lot of room for coach mentorship and working together with other coaches so that we can move everybody up through that. As Jeff alluded to, the prospect pool is bigger than just our next-gen training group. The next-gen training group is the group that we work within, but there are athletes that fall outside of those confines. That's fine. It's always going to be that way. The goal for this whole prospect pool is to push into the elite pool. And I've told athletes before, and again, when I say like my history before that, it was the same when we worked at the cyclery, that the idea of the next gen training group, the idea of those development pathways is as a tool and is really to move people through there as quickly as possible. So
I just wanted to add a little bit
sorry,
to the para
Phil, do you have your hand
context in
up?
terms
Would
of
you
the
like to
coach
speak?
mentorship. Obviously, I think with para, there's a great number of coaches in Canada, both working at clubs and PSOs, and what we've identified is that there's a clear fear of the unknown for a lot of those coaches, and we've also addressed that we need coaches on the ground in clubs and PSOs that have an understanding of what para sport is and break down a lot of those fear of the unknown barriers. So one of our key pieces prior to COVID was trying to provide opportunities for club coaches, PSO coaches to come along to para events and camps and be integrated and being mentored into para as much as possible. So I kind of challenge everyone that's out there listening to this call that if you have any interest in working with para, we'd love to talk to you, and we'd love to see if we can get you to come out to a camp and be involved and break down some of those barriers. But I think Jenny covers the general themes of what's going on in the NextGen para program as well, in terms of the lower pools and involvement with PSO and clubs.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. Thanks for the question, Kurt. I think that's awesome. Do we have any other questions from our participants? Oh, there we go. I'm sorry, I'm staring directly at the chat box. Yeah, I think I thank you everybody for coming today. I know it's a little challenging when we're trying to put forward these plans, and there's always an element of question given the year that we've come through. But it's pretty great to still have a community, and I really do believe that we have a phenomenal cycling community here. Tanya has asked, is there a criteria for selecting the athletes? Yeah, so while we are trying to align a bunch of our programs within the NextGen space, the selection to each individual program will really depend on the depth of talent within that, and also just the resources that each of the coaches are working with. On the track side, we have two primary and one tertiary entry point. Our first entry point is the Junior World Championships. That, as you can kind of see through here, that the prospect pool fits in that U23 space. So the real natural progression is through a Junior World Championship team, and you will have seen that through the selection that was made. Secondary to that will be through our national championships, which hasn't happened this year, obviously, but that is our opportunity for our elite riders, because not everybody follows that path of coming through as a junior. We do want to make sure that we're keeping that pathway open. We have had a few athletes come through that way, and I think it's awesome and fits where they are in their lives. And then that third place is a talent kind of transfer space, and we see that a lot through RBC Training Ground. And in fact, most of our whole female sprint squad is coming through that. So those are the three selection points. I don't know, do any of the other coaches want to speak directly to their programs?
The only addition is the classification portion. It's difficult for us to integrate or have athletes join the NextGen program without the classification portion being resolved. That would be the only difference.
From a mountain bike perspective, as Jenny said, and as I mentioned at the beginning, like the main criteria that we use is athletes who are selected to the World Championships, who will be moving into the U23 space for the coming year. We also open it up to athletes who wish to gain selection, but for the most part, we use that as the first hoop to jump through. From there, and our core team would be 4 junior males, 4 junior females that go to the World Championships, and then we would also have the same number of athletes in the U23 sphere, both male and female. From there, it would be seeing what individual athletes are required. As I mentioned, some are going to have very good setups, local setups in terms of coaching and access to services. Others are going to potentially need a change or have certain needs that the NextGen program might be useful for them. And that's when we have those types of conversations to be able to come into the program.
Yeah, I think while we're trying to make this a unified approach, we also understand that here in Canada, we don't have hordes and hordes of people. And so I think it is also important to understand that we are looking at each athlete as a case by case and looking to maximize their experience within that. And I think that addresses a number of the questions that are popping up on the sidebar. So Mauricio, you're asking where the international competitions in the junior category fall. For the most part, they're going to fall into that development pool. As Jeff mentioned earlier, there will be specific juniors who fall into that prospect pool as well. Again, we're dealing with these athletes on a case-by-case basis. And so while Junior Worlds falls into that development pool, if we have an athlete that is far outside of that space, we're going to have opportunities for them to move up into the next gen space. And we are really looking that while this is a framework, we're hoping to be able to address individuals through that framework and not be held by really specific rigid boundaries there. Tiago, as far as multidiscipline athletes, how can they benefit through the next gen pathway? I mean, I think one of the really cool things is we have awesome communication between the six of us. And if you look through, there have been there's examples of athletes over the last number of years who fall within those two. And I know Jeff and I have collaborated with athletes in the past, working within the track versus mountain bike space, which I think is a space that we will see growing more and more here in Canada. I know in Milton especially, we have a lot of mountain bikers who also ride the track, which is a neat situation that's arisen as a result of our location here. I do think, again, it comes back to, we'll look at each individual athlete. We're working with their teams. We're working with their support networks to make sure that they get what they need. Another example of the recent intake would be Ruby West, who is currently racing for her professional cyclocross team in Europe. But when she comes back, we'll work with her and try to get her where she needs to be for that support on the track. As far as the road plan, as I said, this is new. It's really exciting. I don't actually have the answers to that right now, Tanya. We will distribute things through the same means that we've been doing, and I think we also need to understand that Richard's first day was yesterday, and he's got a lot of awesome things coming, but we need to give him a little bit of time to put those in place. Sorry, Tiago, how athletes can benefit. I'm wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on that one for me. Our hope is that having athletes and being able to make those connections with athletes and helping them and their support networks understand what it takes to get to that top level will benefit them. As Jeff alluded to, the core of our next gen programming is world-class coaching. We also have the DTE element where athletes get to spend time with their peers. I really do think this is a huge component of all the next gen programs, is having athletes spend time with their peers. My personal kind of passion lies within the development women's space in particular. And I know that that's a big problem that we have for our young women. They don't spend a lot of time with other people and that are of the same gender, age, capacity, all of that sort of thing. So it sometimes is a little mind-boggling when they get in with their peers. So having a big group of peers that can push them to their limits, and having a great team that at times each athlete is at the front of the pack or at the back of the pack. I really do think that's how we get the most out of people. And Kurt, thank you for your kind words. And yes, I think we are planning on working well together and using those opportunities to use the expertise that each of the coaches bring. Last week, Guillaume and I had a conversation about an athlete that is in the Bromont area and about how he would be able to help her. So I really do see that spot. I'm also a big believer that coaching is best when it's with somebody that you communicate really well with, and so there's that opportunity as well. Would any of the other coaches like to add to that?
I think you said that quite well. I don't have anything to add.
Ooh, I just scrolled down. I didn't realize there was more. Pardon me. Yeah, in terms of and just a little bit more to that, Kurt, I do think we'll be looking at each of the athletes as they need it. If there's an athlete that needs a little bit more kind of technical stuff and lives in Calgary, we do have coaches there. I mean, I think that's one of the really neat things about this coaching panel, and it's echoed within our elite coaching panel, that we do have coaches from coast to coast, which is pretty exceptional. As far as Tanya, as far as what you can expect from the next gen coaches at this point, the biggest thing that the athletes that will be in with Franck will take away is the interaction that those athletes will have from Franck. If you have again, it's really difficult at this time of year with COVID, is that I'm going to speak for all the coaches in saying that we would be more than happy to have people come and help with the camps that we're doing, so that we can get a little bit more exposure across the board. I know that we're all more than happy to sit down and chat at any point with coaches and athletes. As I said, I believe that we have a pretty amazing network here in Canada, and the more we can work together, the more we can push each other, the better we're going to be. Yeah, these are great questions, guys. Thank you. I think the other thing that's important for us to get out there is that if anyone has any suggestions about how things could be done better, please have those conversations with us as coaches. Everybody has their view on development, and I only have mine. So the more that I can share that with people, the more that you can share where you see those gaps, the better we're all going to be. So I really do encourage you guys to reach out if anyone has any questions. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Tanya. We will work on that with Franck. Awesome. Excellent. Well, I think we are wrapping things up here, folks. Would any of the other coaches like to say anything before we call it a day?
Yeah, just one quick thing from myself. If there's anyone who's watching this either live, or if there's anyone who ends up watching the recording and gets this far, if anyone is interested in having a conversation with myself, you want to talk mountain bike, anything mountain bike related with questions, please feel free to email me. It's jeff.ain@cyclingcanada.ca, and I'll get back to you pretty quick. But yeah, please don't hesitate if there's anything that you want to bring up with me personally after this.
Thanks, Jeff. I would imagine that all the other coaches feel the same way. You articulated that very well. Awesome. Thanks, team.